So, Monday's class again, release and restore, and kind of staying with that theme of slowing down, acknowledging how we feel, rejuvenating perhaps some energy resources, and probably just generally getting ourselves set up for bed. So generally just a feel-good flow, hopefully straight from the yoga mat into bed. That's the main purpose of the release and restore class. So we're starting very gently, very easily. So more like a moving breath awareness start. So from your yoga mat, you can have a little bit of space to the left and to the right. The yoga belt, the yoga strap, we may not need straight away, perhaps a little bit later on. And have your knees bend as you're stretching out on your yoga mat. So we're kind of using those very gentle windscreen wipers. Your arms can be either T-shaped or cactus arms, maybe above your head. So wherever you feel your arms resting and they're not in the way when we are letting our knees just gently sway from side to side, and just bring some gentle movement in. So without aiming to drop the knees towards the floor straight away, just letting the body move into kind of its own little flow, own little rhythm. And your neck, your head goes in the opposite direction. So knees sway to the left, your head slowly rolls towards the right. So allow kind of just a sense of heaviness to move into the body. So no specific kind of pushing or achieving. So just allowing the body to find its own natural way to release any build-up tension around the spine, the upper back, the neck, chest area. So that rolling of your head from one side to the other really starts to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're maybe even anxious, or there's periods where your mind just goes over certain things constantly, it's a lovely way to keep the body busy and also starting to slow down the mind. So the feet can be as wide as your yoga mat. So even in between those movements, you may start maybe with feet a little wider. You may start with feet a little closer together. So just noticing even how that changes the stretch, maybe any sensations in your body. So maybe after a busy day, just starting with complete stillness is sometimes quite uncomfortable. So it's a soft kind of transitioning, to switching off, to slowing down. So and as you find, or as the body finds its natural way, its rhythm to move and slow down, bring your awareness to your breath. So every time you let your knees flop out to the sides, exhale, and on the inhale, bring your knees back to center. So there's a point where your head points up towards the ceiling, and also your knees point up towards the ceiling. So up to that point, inhale, and then exhale as the knees go in the opposite direction. So as you bring them back to center, you inhale. As you just let them flop out to one side, you exhale. So it brings that awareness back into our body without being completely on autopilot. So inhale, bring them back to center, exhale, let them drop towards one side. And feel the back of your head really connecting to the earth. Let the feet roll from the inside to the center of your sole, or to the outside of your foot. And perhaps your knees almost make contact with the floor, your thighs, because the sides start to release. They start to let go of any tension of that, perhaps gripping. So take perhaps 3 more rounds. And then find your way back to neutral. So neutral means your face points up towards the ceiling, or up towards the ceiling, also your knees point up. So just find that stillness and tap into your body. Any sensations maybe in your feet, in your back, maybe in your head, perhaps in your arms. So just perhaps focusing on what's going on in your body. How is your breath? How is the emotional body? And begin to deepen your breath as you breathe in through your nose, send the breath through your lungs into your lower abdominals. And exhaling, sending the breath all the way up through the tops of your lungs, out through your nose. So perhaps even breaking down that breath. So breathing into your lungs, breathing into the lower ribs, and then all the way into your lower abdominals. And as you exhale, let that air escape from the lower abdominals, through the side ribs, and out through your upper lungs and nose. So a bit like a wave. You bring deeper breaths in, almost bit by bit. And as you exhale, you also release that air very slowly. 2 more controlled breaths, kind of using that 3-part breath. Belly, ribs, and chest. And then also releasing chest, ribs, and belly. Lovely. If you had your eyes closed, gently close your eyes. Maybe you rearrange yourself on the mat in case you drifted up completely. I think I have to move up higher to the top of my mat. Knees are still bent. On the inhale, bring your arms up towards the ceiling, all the way overhead, stretching out. And exhale, slowly bring your arms down towards the back, towards your mat. So connected to a breath, perhaps a count of 4, inhaling to 4, and also exhaling slowly to 4. So inhaling once more to 4. And also exhaling to 4. Twice more, perhaps inhaling to 5 if it feels more appropriate for you, without straining the breath. And perhaps exhaling to 5. If it feels uncomfy, stick perhaps to 3 or 4. Lovely. Last one here. As you breathe in to a count of 4 or 5 or 3. And then exhaling. Lovely. So the next time you breathe in to your count of 4 or 5, not only bring your arms up and over, but also extend that left leg away from you. And as you exhale, bring your left knee back in, so your knee is bent as your arms move forward and your foot is slowly placing down. Lovely. Twice more, inhaling to a count of 4 or 5. As you bring your arms up and over and slowly extend that left leg away from you. Exhale. Bring your arms down and bring your knee back in, placing the sole of your foot down. Lovely. Last one here. Exhaling. So the next time you bring your arms up and over, extend your left leg and actually leave it there. Leave it extended. Stay for one deep inhale and exhale as you keep your arms up overhead, that left leg stretched away. So same kind of 5 breath cycles on the right side. So begin to bring your arms back down towards the starting position alongside your body. Inhaling to a count of 4 or 5, extend your arms up and over, extend your right leg away from you, stretching here. Exhaling to a count of 4 or 5 as you bring your right foot back in. So mindful movement with breath as you extend and lengthen. So find your own rhythm as you extend, stretch out. The left leg stays where it is as your right knee also moves with that breath count, or the right leg moves with your breath count. So finishing that last full cycle here, extending arms up and over, extending the right leg away from you. And as you exhale, bring your right foot once more in and your arms alongside your body. The next time you inhale, stretch your arms up and over, extend your right leg, leave it there. So you're literally in star pose. You can take your feet a little wider. You can also stretch your arms a little wider. And then inhale into all the parts in your body. Maybe contract the muscles so your legs are quite contracted. Your arms might actually lift off the floor. And exhale, just let the body soften down. Twice more. Inhale, lengthen. Stretch your right arm, your left leg, your left leg away from you. Lengthen. Exhaling, soften down. Last one here. Extend those limbs away from the core. So you inhale, exhale, soften. So the next time you inhale, once more, stretch arms and legs away from you. Exhale, have your knees in towards your chest as you bring your arms kind of across your knees, your shins, hugging your knees in. Inhale, extend your arms and legs back into that star shape. Exhale, hugging your knees back in as your arms kind of just squeeze your knees in. Lovely. Take 3 more rounds here. Inhaling, extending out into star shape. Exhale, draw your knees in and your arms round as well. Last one here, extending. And then hugging your knees in. This time stay here, holding onto your shins, to your knees, rocking from side to side. Perhaps curl together like a little ball, nose towards your knees. Rounding for the upper back, the lower back. A little bit of a squeeze. And then soften your upper body down. Lovely. From here, knees are back in your chest or still remain hovering over your chest. Roll over to one side and then transition onto all fours. So I probably could stay on the floor for a little bit longer, but let's go and get more movement into the rest of the body. So use any blankets for underneath your knees. So tabletop position where your knees might be a little bit further apart, so there's enough space to move back, and begin to just circle through some tabletop circles, or using tabletop circles, push and bring the bottom towards your heels. So maybe visualize you're moving in a figure of 8. So perhaps any movement, any tension release for your upper back, for your elbows, for your arms, maybe bending those elbows. So change directions maybe as well. Good. And keep that movement quite fluid and quite going. Maybe stretch your arms out, so perhaps hovering here and moving towards your hands. Lovely. And then slowly transition into some moving cat and cow. So rounding the spine, looking towards your knees as you shift the bottom back, and then swimming through, drawing the shoulder blades together as you slowly lift the chest, let the belly drop, stretching through your front. So rounding, drawing the navel in, shifting the bottom back, and then finding your flow here to bring movement, that extension and flexion into the spine. So you can hover over or just across the floor over your mat, softening back. Perhaps switch it around. Maybe you leading with your tailbone, arching the back as you push back, and then rounding through your spine, coming up into tabletop. So leaning slightly forward, leading with your tailbone as you arch the spine. The chest moves closer towards the floor, towards child's pose, and then rounding the spine as you come back up. So you're literally just reversing that cat-cow flow, which may feel a little alien to start with. So it allows to bring different sensation to your upper back, stretching also the nerves running across the spinal cord, spinal column. Lovely. Last one here. And then finding back to neutral tabletop. Have a little bit of a wiggle as you look over your left shoulder, looking over your right shoulder. So gentle, perhaps stretch for your right hip, for the right side of your waist. Lovely. And then slowly moving into downward dog. You can bring your hands a little bit further forward as you curl your toes under. Lift your knees off the floor and move your bottom up. So slowly walk your dog, drawing one heel at a time towards the earth. Perhaps use that moment to release any tension, any tightness in your neck, your upper back. You can take your hands a little bit further apart, maybe to the outside edges of your mat, so there's no compression between your shoulders and your arms. Perhaps even take your feet to the outside edges of your mat, so swaying your tail as you shift the weight from side to side. Good. And then begin to make your way down towards tabletop again, and resting for a couple of breaths in child's pose. So softening here. You can bring your palms underneath your forehead or resting your forehead on the floor. Just finding your kind of a restful posture, a restful child's pose to replenish. Lovely. One more breath in child's pose. And then slowly come back up onto tabletop, curl your toes under. And once more, lifting up into downward dog. So if you wish, maybe you can lift up one leg, depending on energy levels. Maybe you want to stay in the still version of downward dog. Maybe you're just swaying. So a little bit of kind of expression, how you want to move. Looking towards your feet. One more breath. And then bring your knees again down to tabletop. The big toes together this time, knees a little wider. Lengthening through the lower back, also through the hips, so there's more space to sit back without compressing the stomach, the digestive system, and staying for 5 mindful breaths. So breathing in through your nose, send the breath through your lungs, your rib cage all the way into the lower abdominals. So notice how the lower back feels, maybe your shoulders, your arms, softening here. Lovely, 2 more breaths. And then find your way into tabletop. And slowly release your body down onto the floor. So moving into Sphinx posture, so a very gentle version of the back bend. We may stay here for a little bit longer. You can also take a blanket underneath your hips. Sometimes the hip bones are a little bit bony. So find your setup where your elbows underneath your shoulder. Or if it's too strong an angle for the back bend, bring your elbows a little bit further away. So whatever is most appropriate for you. So you can join me in literally just collapsing the upper body, your chest towards the floor. So just to have that action of pressing into your forearms to lifting up. It's like almost like a turtle coming out of its shell as you lengthen. Drawing the shoulder blades together. So it's an action where you literally become more aware how you hold your upper body. If it becomes a little bit strenuous in your lower back, draw that navel in. So you're activating the core from the inside out. Your knees could also lift slightly. The tops of your feet are on the floor. So softening here, lowering. And then slowly rising up, uncurling. You can also look over your left shoulder and look over your right shoulder and then stretch for your neck. Good. Optional here. You can, if you want to progress from here, you can press your palms into the floor, lift off your elbows. Keep the belly engaged as you lengthen. So your legs are quite engaged, lengthening through your spine. Once more, you can look over one side of your shoulder. Good. And then slowly make your way down onto your belly. Make a cushion for your forehead. Perhaps wiggle your bottom. Just softening here. And using that opportunity for a few diaphragmatic breaths, so those deep belly breaths. So as you send that breath once more into the lower abdominals. Perhaps visualize how the lower back is rising as well. So that 3-dimensional breath, the breath is literally spreading out, not just to the front, but also to the side and to the back. One more deep breath. Lovely. And from here, bring your hands out to the sides, perhaps off your yoga mat. So we are kind of hovering, a bit like a spider as we're massaging, we're kneading through the shoulder blades. So you can keep your forehead resting on the floor and just
moving the shoulder blades towards each other. So activating through the shoulder blades, as if you're doing shoulder circles, perhaps. It's the best way to get that action underway. If you wish, you can slightly lift your chest, your forehead off the floor as well. Continue with that kind of wiggling through your shoulders. Your palms can be on the floor. You can be on your fingertips. You can also look underneath one armpit and then the opposite armpit. So a little stretch for your upper back as well. Lengthening and strengthening the lower back. And then bring your arms back together, palms together, resting your forehead. Maybe a little wiggle through your bottom. So a couple of belly breaths. So then perhaps locate your belt, your yoga strap, please. And we are stretching through the front thigh, through the quadriceps. So you may be able, as you bend your knee, to reach your foot. If that's the case, you may not need a belt. If it feels strenuous reaching with your arm back, take the strap, hook your right foot across, hook your right foot through that strap. So it's literally just an arm extension as you hold on to your right ankle, your right foot, to the right strap, to the strap of the right, kind of pull around the right foot, and just rest here, focusing on that lengthening, that release that's happening through the front thigh. So your head can perhaps turn to the side unless there's any issues with your neck. And use that moment to literally not do anything, just using the breath and focusing on that, on those sensations in your front thigh. So that the quadriceps, the front thigh, is the biggest muscle in the body. So it tends to hold on to a lot of tension. So releasing it here through just resting here without making it a balancing pose. So here literally the focus is purely on that stretch, on that release. Stay for perhaps 2 to 3 more breaths. If there's any discomfort in your knee, maybe if it's too much flexion, if it's too deeply bent, with the strap you have the opportunity to release a little bit. So there's less compression on your knee joint. So a couple of breaths. And then either release the strap, the belt around that foot, or release your hand or that foot away from you. Just take a moment to center, to just notice. And maybe there's that impression that the right leg feels a little longer than your left leg. So then change sides, either the strap, either hold the strap, bring the strap around the left foot, or just hold onto the left foot, left ankle, as you allow the torso, the upper body to release. So if you bring your head in one direction, or if you rest on one particular side of your on your head, then this time change direction, so you're equally stretching your neck as well. So soften into that posture, maybe adjusting always for any discomfort, noticing if there's maybe a little more restriction than on the other side. So stay for 3 more full breaths, full deep breaths. Breathing in and completely breathing out. So begin to release either the belt, the strap, or your hand. And once more, just take a moment to soften, to be, and notice any sensations. So allow your feet just to roll out, resting for your forehead. And deep belly breaths, you're breathing into the lower back. So very slowly bring your hands underneath your shoulders. We are lifting up into tabletop. So maybe take a moment just to center, depending on how the lower back feels. Maybe just some cat and cows bring the spine back to neutral. And from here, curl your toes and then lift your knees, bottom reaches up. Once more, pedal your feet, downward dog. So you may want to nod your head, softly shake your head, maybe one leg lifts up again. Bit of free play depending on energy levels. Right. So one more deep breath. And then bring your knees down, landing once more on tabletop. From here, step with your right foot forward, please. Maybe take any padding underneath your left knee. So pretty much bring your knees in a 90-degree angle. So your left hand is out to the left side. And then moving into a bit of a twist so that releases any kind of tension around your spine. So on the exhale, draw your right arm up towards the ceiling, opening your belly button towards the right inner thigh. And exhale, bring your right arm down, also looking down towards the mat. So a couple of rounds here as you open up. And then slowly coming back into that kind of neutral place. So a couple of rounds here, opening up. And slowly lowering. So one more time, more dynamic. Inhale, coming back down. So then bring your arm up once more towards the ceiling. Place your hand onto the lower back as you draw that right shoulder back. So we're breathing here for a couple of breaths. So notice if your neck feels uncomfortable, then bring your head in a position that is comfortable. So it's more that twist, opening the navel towards the right inner thigh as you breathe. Notice if your left shoulder collapses. So keep that arm quite strong. One more breath. And then slowly turn back to center. So moving here between that runner stretch and that low lunge. So just a bit of a release for the hip, for the hamstring. So kind of making the most of it while we're here in that position. Maybe a little bit of a wiggle, perhaps gentle circles for your hips. As you lean back, decide where you want to keep the foot. Perhaps releasing the upper body. Good. Take perhaps two more
movements here, maybe even lower. So you may know where your kind of those areas are that need a little bit more attention. So pick those areas where you linger, where you want to linger around a bit more. And then slowly get ready to step back into tabletop. So move your right foot back, maybe a little bit of a wiggle shift through your hips. So optional here, you can soften in child's pose, or if you want to have a bit more of a stretch, a bit of a wiggle, you can lift up into downward dog. So the choice is yours. Pick depending on your energy levels. So if you're in downward dog, slowly make your way down into tabletop pose. If you're in child's pose, also make your way into tabletop again. So stepping with your left foot forward. So taking the left foot almost to the outside edge of your mat. So find your setup, maybe a blanket, the right hand to the outside edge, and then open on the exhale. So drawing the navel towards the left inner thigh. You may want to reach the arm up. So your neck can stay in a very comfortable position. Inhale, you come back to neutral starting position. Exhale, opening. And inhale, coming down. Good. Take 3 more, please, as you kind of travel through those twists. Exhaling, you're opening, navel towards the left inner thigh. Inhale, coming down. Good. After your 5 more dynamic ones, stay in that posture for a little bit longer. Your left hand can rest on your lower back. Just the navel points towards the inner thigh. Your head can either look out in front of you or just down towards the foot, perhaps up towards the ceiling. Lovely. One more deep breath. And then slowly returning to neutral. And we can switch between that runner stretch and that low lunge. So you may want to adjust the front foot so you get the most out of that stretch where your knee and ankle are in one line. Good. So a little bit more dynamic. Maybe wiggle through your hip circles. So whenever the breath feels restricted or we are about to hold it, we may just perhaps push a little too far. Just finding what's your soft, your sweet spot here with each posture as we travel through. And then begin to kind of come out of the pose by stepping your left foot back to neutral tabletop. Maybe a little bit of a wiggle here again. So tabletop, cat and cow, stretching out. Perfect. And find your way into seated position, please. You can use the blanket or maybe a block to sit on. And bring once more your strap along, please, that belt. I'm just turning around. So you may want to maybe follow. So legs stretched or legs, knees bent. Flex your feet and bring that strap around or the belt around the inner arches or the arches of your feet, please. So notice also how you sit. So from here, almost use the strap to lengthen, to lift up. So the shoulders almost draw back, that the chest lifts. And from here, probably depending on if you have a sticky mat or how, is slowly extend your feet out in front of you. You can let go of your strap as you move towards bringing your knees, the backs of your knees down. Maybe there's a point where it feels quite intense, then perhaps stay here with slightly bent knees. So awareness is more on having the upper back nice and straight. And breathe here. So you can always attempt to extend your legs a little bit further. So breathe through those sensations in the backs of your legs. If you're already with your legs on the floor, use that traction to keep the spine nice and tall and begin to lean forward. So with a nice straight spine. So if your legs don't make contact with the floor, continue to hold here. You can still lean forward, almost your tummy and your thighs make contact with each other. So even that action here allows us to experience that release through the hamstrings with the pelvis in the right position to keep the spine nice and long. Use the exhale to let go of any tension. Lovely. Last deep breath. And slowly release. Sit up, maybe shake out your hands, maybe just make a fist, just circle through the fist. So sometimes that grip on the belt is quite strong. So from here, step off or come off your blanket again. You can keep it close by for relaxation in a few moments time. Have your belt still at the ready as you roll onto your back. So we are bringing the foot once more to underneath the arch of the right foot and extending that right leg up towards the ceiling. So if you have enough belt or a tie or scarf to go down, allow your arms to soften, to release. So the elbows, your upper arms, your shoulders are soft on the floor. So notice if your pelvis lifts off the floor. So keep the tailbone down, keep that connection with the earth as you extend that right leg up towards the ceiling. So continue almost to surrender into that stretch, into that release. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. Lengthen that exhale, which allows the body to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system and to perhaps feel less of an intense sensation in the body. So a couple of more breaths. So if you have space, allow that right leg to go out to the right side. You can adjust that strap, perhaps just bring it into the right hand. Keep that strap quite sturdy so you're holding onto your leg. Notice maybe if the pelvis rolls off, perhaps use the left hand to rest it on the left side of your pelvis, almost drawing, keeping the pelvis drawn into the floor. As we are releasing the inner hamstring, the right inner hamstring. So there are 3 hamstrings. The central one, we just stretch the inner one, and then there's an outer one as well. So a couple of deep breaths. And then slowly with your next breath, bring that right leg back up towards the ceiling. You can extend that left leg away from you. And slowly, perhaps just a couple of inches, bring that right leg over the midline towards the left side. So it might be quite strong on the hip, on the buttocks. So stay within a range that is manageable. Deep breaths into the abdominals towards the pelvic floor. Lovely, 2 more breaths. And then slowly bring your right leg down, unhook that belt. So extend that right leg away from you to kind of join that left leg. So just take a couple of moments to feel into the right side of your leg, the left leg. So maybe there's a difference. Maybe the right side feels longer than the left side. Oh, so then bend your right knee, bring the right foot down as you hook that left foot through that belt and extend the left leg up towards the ceiling. So maybe quite tense to start with. And then surrender with your breath. Let the breath do the work its magic. You may also use that opportunity to stick out your tongue, to wiggle your upper and your lower jaw. Maybe pull a funny face, a scary face. So those muscles in your face, they also need some release. Couple of deep breaths. And perhaps focusing on that lengthening of the exhale. And with your next breath, take your left leg out towards the left side. Perhaps adjust the strap so it fits your purpose to release that inner hamstring. So keep it within a range that is that is comfortable, yet gives you sensation without straining yourself. The breath is usually the best indicator where you are. Stay for 3 more breaths with that inner hamstring. And then slowly bring your left leg to center. Extend your right leg away from you to make space to gently bring your left leg over the midline towards the right side. Maybe it's just a very tiny movement. Maybe it's a bigger movement. So make the right judgment depending on those feelings or that feedback there, or those signals you may be getting through the left outer thigh. Stay for another 3 breaths. And then release that left foot. Perhaps bring the right knee back in. Put the strap aside. Place both feet onto the mat once more to the outer edges. Perhaps you need to move back into the center of your mat, perhaps. And then choose a little bit of a longer hold for that twist as you let your legs flop to one side and turn your head into the opposite direction. So we started with a dynamic twist and we are finishing more with a static twist. So finding a little longer release for one side of the body. So if you have your legs flopping over towards the right side, perhaps take your gaze towards the left shoulder, towards the left arm. Your arms can be out to the sides in T-shaped or cactus shape. So palms facing up allows the shoulders to melt into the floor. So take another 3 breaths on the first side if it feels okay to stay that long. And bring your knees back to center and over to the second side. So if your neck feels okay, you can take it in the opposite direction. So send that breath consciously into some areas that feel a little restricted, that feel that stretching a little bit deeper. So soft, replenishing breaths. And With your next breath, allow the knees to move back to center, allow the head to come back to center. Maybe hug your knees back in towards your chest, gently rocking, perhaps curling together like a little ball. And then perhaps use some cushions, blankets to find your pose to rest. So you may perhaps just stay where you are. Some socks, blanket, perhaps jumpers. So you can bring a blanket or a cushion underneath the backs of your knees, underneath the backs of your thighs. That helps to soften the lower back. And once more, allow yourself to arrive, to switch off from your day. Perhaps sense the weight of your body, presence of your body, softening into the floor. Eyes can be closed or just a soft gaze towards the ceiling. So perhaps having the knees bent or the legs stretched out. Just give yourself permission to release any holding. So just extend the in breaths and also extend the out breaths. Feel that effortless flow of air in through your nose and out through your nose or through your mouth. You might feel any sensation as the out breath leaves the nostrils, relaxing outward, and again inhaling deeply and fully. So returning your breath to its natural rhythm, relaxing into the inflow and the outflow of your breath. Sense into your body where there might be any areas where you wish to let go a little bit more. Maybe soften to find a little bit more ease. Soften your eyes, and the areas around your eyes. Let the eyebrows be smooth. Unhinge your jaw. Let shoulders fall away from the neck, relaxing from the inside out. Let your arms and hands be soft. See if you can also feel your hands from the inside out. Perhaps any tingling, maybe any vibrating that's there. And softening the belly. Becoming aware of any sensations in the abdominal region. Feeling also into the energy that's there. And you might sense the length and volume of your legs. Feel the feet from the inside out. Tingling, maybe a bit vibrating. And then just sensing the quality of your present that's there right now. Movement of your breath. Relaxed, awake awareness. Sensing this moment-to-moment experience. Focus once more on those inhales and exhales, moving through your body, and then slowly begin to deepen the breath. Deepen your inhales, and also lengthen your exhales as you bring movement back into your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. Maybe roll your head from side to side, from one ear to the other. So waking up your neck, perhaps stretching your arms up overhead, stretching from fingertips to toes. And if you want, you can curl your knees back into your chest, hugging knees. Perhaps rocking, swaying from side to side. And slowly let yourself roll over to one side. Stay for a breath or two. And then find your way into any seated position. Finishing tonight's practice with one more deep inhale. So bring your arms out to the sides, all the way up. Lengthening deep inhale and then draw them back into your heart center. For harmony, balance, good health. Namaste. Thank you for joining.